Welcome class. Today's lesson is 4.5 and most of the lesson other than the tries are already up on the board for you. So take up a second, pause the video, and you don't have to organize your work this way if you don't want to. You can just start here and then just keep writing down. So I would pause and take a second and write down all of our examples, and then you'll be all set to go. Leave some space. The more complicated the problem is, the more space you need to leave, depending on how big you write, and so forth and so on. So, our first example is how to multiply a monomial times a monomial. And let me grab some different colors real quick. We're basically going to multiply the coefficients, and then we're going to multiply the variables. And remember, we're going to go back and use those exponent rules when we multiply the variables, because when we multiply the same bases, we're going to add those exponents. So I'm going to multiply the 6 and the 4, and it's going to be 24, and then I'm going to add 1 and 2, and so it's 24x to the third. That's it. Let's do another one. This one is a little bit more complicated. There isn't a coefficient here, so once again there's a 1 that's implied. So 3 times 1 is 3. There's a 1 right there, and there are no x's in that second term. So we're going to need to include an x. However, most of the time we rewrite our final answer in alphabetical order, if we can remember. And so because there's a W right here and there's no other W's, I would write the W first and then the X, and then y to the first times y to the fourth is y to the fifth. So there's my final answer there. If you forget, again, I'm not quite sure how specific MATLAB will need you to be. So this is the preferred, but maybe you're allowed to put it in any order. I wouldn't mark you off on that, just little tips that you should maybe be aware of. Okay, now we have a monomial in front of a polynomial with 3 terms. So we need to distribute this. So I always kind of like to write arrows like that. The term in the polynomial inside the parentheses has 3 terms. So our answer needs to also have 3 terms, because if this distributes through all of this, the number of terms isn't going to change. So make sure that your answer matches in that way as well. So the numbers multiply, the exponents add. 5 times 2 is 10. X, 2 plus 2 is 4. 5 times 4 is 20. Remember that negative is going to go down, just drop straight down, so negative 20, x, 2 plus 1 is 3. 5 times 12 is a positive 60. There isn't an x in the back here, but this guy is going to be distributed to that, so we need to include that x squared in the back. Final answer. Let's make it a little bit harder. In this column here, you notice the outside polynomial is a binomial in all 3 cases. And then these are called FOIL problems. So we're going to go back to that method you may or may not remember called FOIL. FOIL stands for first, where should I write this? FOIL stands for first, out, in, and last. So I will, maybe this won't end up being as neat as I had hoped. So the first term here and the first term here, that's the F part of FOIL. So 2x times 1x is 2x squared. I think I'll end up with enough space. The next piece to do is the outside pieces. So now, if you use too many colors, you'll really confuse yourself in your notes. But that piece right there is the outside piece. And so 2x times 4, the 2 terms that are on the outermost part. So 2x times 4 is a plus 8. Then we have the inside piece. So we have that and that. That makes up the I. So we have a negative 7 and a positive 1x, so that's negative 7x. And then our last piece is the L. So we have that times that. That makes up the L, the last in this parenthesis and the last part of that parenthesis. And it's negative 28. Negative 7 times a positive 4. All right, so that's our step 1. Oh, I forgot an X right here. My bad. If you're wondering, she didn't write the X. So when I did the O, 2x times 4 is 8x. So if you caught that before me, thank you. So the middle two terms, not 100% of the time, but about 80-90% of the time, those two terms are going to be able to add together. That changes when we get into radicals and whatnot, but these two usually are combinable. So 2x squared plus x minus 28 is our final answer. Let's do it again. I won't use so many colors so you kind of see what it looks like if I don't have all of those, and I have a little bit more space to work with. All right, so this times this, that's the F, so 12x squared. The O is the 3x times the negative 2, so negative 6x. The I is this piece right here, so positive 1 times 4x is plus 4x. And the L is the last in each parenthesis, so positive 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Once again, the middle two terms combine, so 12x squared minus 2x minus 2. This is a skill that is absolutely necessary to master because all of chapter 5 and everything we do after that, we're going to do something called factoring. And factoring starts here, and we learn to kind of undo the multiplication and find the factors and take it apart again, if you will. So you're not going to be able to be a master at reversing it until you become a master at multiplying. So I would encourage you to make sure you have that skill in place. All right, here we have a polynomial with two terms, a binomial, and then here we have a trinomial. So we are going to do kind of that arrow method that I did right here. Watch how I organize my work so that when I add straight down, I get these beautiful, neat columns. So I am going to multiply everybody here by x. So I'm going to get x to the third. X times negative x is going to be minus x squared. I'm having horrible posture here. X times positive 7 is plus 7x. So that's after the first step. The second step, I'm going to distribute that positive 2. So now I'm going to use arrows below, and I'm going to say, okay, positive 2 times x squared, just off to the side here, it's going to be 2x squared. Where should I write that? I'm actually going to indent it just a little bit, and I'm going to write it right here so that my exponents already match up. You can write it all, like just make one big line, but I think this way is a little bit easier. So 2 times x squared, put it underneath the other term, that's an x squared. 2 times negative x is negative 2x, and 2 times a positive 7 is a plus 14. So, adding straight down, we're going to get x to the third plus, now we have a negative 1 here and a positive 2 here, so plus 1x squared. Positive 7, take away 2 is a plus 5. And then we have a plus 14. So you can go back and look at those. I'm going to erase, I'll hold off on this one real quick, and let's try one of each of these, just so that you have that extra opportunity. I certainly would do that if we were in person. So let's try that. And let's try that. So go ahead and pause and try one of them. And now let's check our work. So the first times the first, 10x squared. The outside piece is going to be 45x. The inside piece is going to be 6x. And the last piece is going to be 27. 45 and 6 make 51. So 10x squared plus 51x plus 27. Try this one if you haven't already. And here we go with our answer. 2x multiplied through by this whole thing is going to leave us with 2x to the third minus 10x squared plus 6x. When I distribute that -4 to all three terms, I'm going to remember to indent it once, -4x squared. Now watch your signs right here. You're going to multiply a negative times a negative, so a positive 20x. And a -4 times a positive 3 is -12. So bring it all down, 2x to the third. Two negatives add to a larger negative, if you will. And so -14x squared. 6 and 20 is 26x minus 12. Our last problem, I just want to show you one of these in case it comes up. I don't plan on putting one like this on the test because it gets pretty tedious. But I do want to give you one quick example. So we're going to distribute, distribute, distribute. So I tried to keep the numbers here super small. So we're going to go, I'm going to run out of places to kind of put my arrows. So x to the fourth, that times that. Then x squared times -4x is -4x to the third. X squared times 5 is plus 5x squared. Then I'm going to indent, and I'm going to multiply everybody through by -2x. So -2x times x squared is -2x to the third. -2x times -4x is going to give us positive 8x squared, and a negative times a positive is -10x. And finally, we're going to multiply through by a +1, so that's really not going to change anything, but we're going to indent one more time. So I'm going to write x squared, put a 1 right there if that's helpful for you, minus 4x plus 5. All right. And now we're going to add our columns straight down. Remember, the exponents are going to be unaffected. We're only messing with the coefficients. So that guy just comes straight down. Two negatives, -6x to the third. 13, 14x squared minus 14x plus 5. So that concludes. I hope you were successful on the tries. Believe me, you're going to get a lot of practice on these, and so you should be confident and an expert in no time at all. So have a good day, everybody.